Hello, 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 everyone. Mike Arnold here, co-founder, Path Trading Partners, along with Bob Iacchino. How is everyone doing this afternoon? Little quick reversal, got that double top in the Nasdaq, and then the old Apple, reduced hiring. Is essentially that was their guidance that was them guiding down. And based off the weighting of Apple, the market took it on the chin. You got the momentum bars. So, oh man, my allergies are driving me crazy. So, that's where we sit. How is everyone doing? Hope you survived the day today. Let's see real quick. Let me bring back up my other things. Hold on. There we go. There's the nice red S&P map. Who's here? Let's see. Josh, do you think the indices need their weight restructured? I understand it has a massive market cap, but a phone maker bring down the whole market is a little crazy. Well, you have the equal weighted S&P, and then you have the market cap weighted S&P, and the problem is it's not the weighted aspect, because with 500 stocks, I mean, you almost have to have more of a weighting on the bigger stocks, else small stocks can push it around. However, since really in the last few years, everything's gone into mega caps and kept going into mega caps, disregarding valuations. So you have a lot of concentrated money, and then you have passive funds, which also have to rebalance. So that buys more of the shares, and it keeps the market getting concentrated into a few stocks. And then you have risk. And also, that's what I've talked about this. I haven't talked about this recently, but I talked about it months ago, where once we get the continued selling of the mega cap stocks, it will then force the funds, the passive funds, to keep rebalancing lower, which is then it's like a feeding loop. It was a frenzy on the way up with the stocks rally. Everything needs to be rebalanced. The passive funds have to buy, so they have to buy the stocks, which means they get bigger market cap, which means they have to buy more, and it keeps them people go into the inflows of passive funds, and it just keeps feeding on itself on the way up. Well, at some point, once we really break down and the mega caps start getting sold a lot, you will see the same frenzy going on where, all right, Apple selling down, Google selling down, Amazon selling down, and then the funds have to rebalance lower, and they have to rebalance lower, and they sell more stock. So keep that in mind too. It was what you see, but when you have a mega cap guy, essentially that was guiding lower. Now imagine what happens. You got another mega cap with Tesla. Imagine what happens if Tesla really gets crushed on earnings or something, or let's say eventually the judge rules in favor of Twitter, and Elon's forced to buy it, and has to dump more shares to do it. Well, that could have another ripple effect, and you start getting a number of these ripple effects with mega caps, and you can get the constant downward pressure. And that's why I'm saying we're not anywhere near the bottom. Another reason we're not near the bottom. Does anybody read this article? It came out yesterday, but I mean, a lot of people read it today. Many investors are fleeing the stock market, but some are doubling down. If I lose 15K, I'm not going to die. You don't see those headlines at the bottom. Those aren't the headlines you see at the bottom. Those are the headlines you see well before the bottom. So, that's my little 2 cents worth there. Hello, Options 22. Good afternoon, Patrick. Hello, hello, Christoph. Good afternoon, Davey. Hello, George. Surviving. I was going to ask you, Christoph. Now, you have a massive heat wave over there. I'm glad you're surviving it okay, and I hope it doesn't get overly cold this winter, though. I hope it doesn't go from massive heat this summer to like an ice age this winter. So, hey, Chris. Thank God for Apple. I was about to FOMO. We're not, we could still see a rally. Good evening, Anissa. I want to see how the market reacts over the next couple days if it just shrugs it off, especially with daily cycles still going up. Thanks for the explanation, trying to understand these movements better. And I'll show you some other stuff in 1 second. But you got a pretty, it started a pretty decent sell off, and I'll show you how you can gauge that. If it's just the market caps or something else. By the way, today, housing index, which the market didn't blink an eye at, but this was a huge miss. That was a huge miss. That was only the second biggest miss compared to the slowdown when COVID first hit. So that was big, but the market shrugged it off. The only thing it didn't shrug off was the guidance from Apple. By the way, if you are new here and like what we do, please do consider subscribing, ringing that bell, and hitting the like button. Keep up the comments, longer term subscribers, after the live stream is over. That's not the comments during the live stream, that's when it's over, so we attract more people to this channel. All right. All right. Let's get down to it. So tomorrow, again, very light day. You have building permits, housing starts, but the market's going to shrug that off. The only interesting thing is Brainard is speaking 1:35 Central Time. So the market is still open and chugging right after lunch then. So is that potentially market moving? Yes. You see here, oil, we had that head and shoulders pattern at oil and in natty gas, and you see energy companies, big move up. Goldman Sachs held on to their some of their gains today with their beat. But again, you had some other banks start rolling over. Google, after the split, took it in the shorts. Apple took it in the shorts. Tesla held up okay. FOMC still 71% favors the 75 basis points, 28% on the 100 basis points. And we're still in slight negative gamma territory. After the hours, IBM beat but got sold off. Their numbers are such garbage. I mean, compare their gap to non-gap and their effective tax rate. That's all you need to know. I'm not going to talk about it because there wasn't any good trading pattern. Tomorrow morning, J&J, there's no great trading pattern on there. Lockheed Martin is still in a long-term sell pattern, so even if it pops up on some earnings, it could set up for another rollover play in that. And then tomorrow after the close, we do have Netflix. So keep that in mind. Not a lot of moving stuff. Although Netflix will be interesting tomorrow, even though it's not a mega cap or anything. It'll be interesting to see if the consumer is cutting back more. But what's more important is Tesla on Wednesday, because that's still, even with its pullback, is still a very highly capitalized company in the S&P. All right. Regarding the building permits, XLRE triggered a double top. I was taking a look. XLK first. I had that up earlier with the reversal with Apple, but still holding up pretty decently. Still watching to see if it does close above there. XLRE. This double. XLRE triggered a double top on what time frame? This time frame, you were talking on the 15-minute. Yes, that is a valid double top. If you're trading it on the shorter time frame, which we don't cover in the sector overview, this is a complete valid double top, and the move lower, hitting the first targets. This was a really nice trade also because you got the gap fill, and it ties back in with the 87.5 harmonic. What I was going to comment in, I didn't know which one you were talking about. This daily double is still in play, but you don't have the daily close yet. But this could easily roll into a bigger play, especially with the numbers coming out tomorrow. What I was also going to say is the SPY, the spiders are a full weighted cap, okay? So you can see here down 83 basis points, all right? See number up here, 83 basis points. RSP, what was I thinking, is the equal weight ETF. So you can always compare that, and you see the equal weight still down because it's triggered a fair amount of selling, but only down 0.43%. So you can see when you get some mega cap selling, and if it's clustered, especially like you saw Google, back to the heat map real quick, you saw two of the mega caps, Google and Apple, come between the two, and then you had Microsoft down a bit. But that's why your other play, it's why your SPYs were down much bigger, almost double percentage basis than the equal weights. So you can always check on that. It's interesting though to check in on the equal weights because when you get really heavy broad market selling that's not concentrated in the mega caps, you'll see those two percentages closer. Just wanted to cover that. All right. So real quick, based on this cycle still rolling up, am I in super bearish mode yet? No. No, I am not. Because you can't trade bar to bar. What tips me to super bearish mode? I'm just going to recap. Or actually, not super bearish mode, but at least moderate bearish mode. That we have the weekly cycles, by the way, trying to start to roll over now. So going to keep a closer eye on this, but we don't get those major earnings reports until next week. So could we sit in a range still? Yes. What gets me more bearish is on this swing, because this is still the dominant swing. All right, the lows from the 17th of June to the highs of the 28th, because that's the major swing low, the major swing high. Everything else has been a sideways consolidation. What though tips me to more aggressive bearish mode is a close below this 37.55 level. Until that happens, it is just it is just the day-to-day tactile trading. And we went through this, we hit that 87.5 today. And then here's the momentum bars. This was just a normal pullback. Somebody asked me earlier, this was a standard pullback until the announcement with Apple, and you can start seeing the momentum bars kick in. There's your momentum, pausing bar, follow through momentum, and then it was just following the 5-minute rotation down with the momentum bars all afternoon until it bounced into the close. So going into tomorrow, am I super bearish? No, not yet. NASDAQ. Here we had this. This on the 15-minute turned into a triple, but is still valid on the 1 hour. It just had to be traded, a little break slower, but you got the momentum bars here. And it was just the pausing bar. It was hard to get on this, with a closing trigger, because when I see something still in the 1 hour, really the shortest I want to trigger is a 15-minute close, but the 15-minute close ran, so then it was just a hop on or a wait for the first pausing bar. And as I've talked before, first pausing bar, we didn't even get that nice pullback move. So on a break below that first pausing bar low, that's the momentum trade lower. Remember, you don't have to capture an entire move. You're trying to take a chunk out of the move. And also, when we get that close to a final, remember this final pattern on the double. Remember, it cut through the wicks. And I said that's why it's lower probability. So if you're trying to play this to eke out the last little bit and you see this kind of thing trigger, yet you just take the position off. Don't ride it all the way back down. You're trying to eke out a few pennies and you're risking a bunch of dollars. So when you get a reversal pattern like this up and it just can't get to that lower probability target, you even see it here on the 1 hour into the wicks, the 4 hour into the wicks. That's why when I tested it out, the final target when it goes into the wicks or is above the wicks is slightly lower probability. But when you get a reversal pattern right in front of it, I wouldn't be taking a lot of risk to keep a pullback, because you don't want to say, well, it didn't hit my final target, I'm still holding, and it's sitting all the way back down here, because now it's got to work all its way back up. You're better if it sets up a new bullish trade to have your capital free to get on the new bullish trade. All right. That's the way I like to view that by the, oh, shoot. I hate when I hit the wrong things. Let me just draw the thing here. For the bullish mode in the NASDAQ, the 62.5 is 11,515 roughly, so can't get into really bearish mode until we get below that again. Let's see. I like your title on the rotten apple. That just hit me. Nvidia is not bullish anymore. Nvidia is going to trade. You know, that's, you had the tech sell off. You still got the Pelosi play, unless her husband exited. Nvidia, I mean, this is just a pullback. It's triggered the double. You still got the pullback. Don't trade bar to bar. It hit the first stop reduction. Okay? So this was even before. So what do? The stop now has to be raised on a closing basis of 151.15 or a spike below 147.65. Could this still pull in? You got daily cycles or 4-hour cycles at the top. You still have this gap left behind, and the key breakout area watch is right in here. So you still, it could still be another play up. Cycles aren't at the top yet on the daily, and this week's not over yet. So I still got to go with the probabilities. This trade isn't invalidated. It just bounced off the first target today. The first target. And I'm focused on the first and second targets. Microsoft 4-hour double. You guys keep MSFT. You guys are the 4-hour double, this little double. So yes, it could see a little more pullback on it. We could see a little more pullback, and you have to really focus on the first and second targets. First target is 250. I'd just go 251.95, 252 actually. Just go 252 and then 250.60. Final target is 249.23, but I'd be looking to unwind that on anything else. And you see it with that little gap up, fill the gap play, and then it rolled into the double. And you can see it. You can still use this on the 1 hour, but I'd be really focused on these, especially with another harmonic right there on the first two targets. Let's see. I forgot to give my pullback targets for overnight. Next area, we bounced off this 50% harmonic again. Don't bother reversing them with this short move. And then I'm just going to the major support, this 38.11. And then a break below that is 3,800 roughly. So those are my targets at downside. On any rally, first level resistance is about back to this 38.48, 38.50. Then if we get back above there, I'll watch into that daily rotation zone about 38.67. On the NASDAQ, I'm just pulling this off to declutter for the time being. It bounced off this key little support area, not yet back to 50% harmonic. So if we come back down, I'm really watching about 11.844 to 11.857. Then if we break below there, I'll be going back to this 11.756 on a rally. There's not a lot of stopping points until you get back up to about 12,027. So that's in the middle of the rotation zone. What else? You'd still like to see Nvidia drop so Nancy can take a loss. Maybe her husband, maybe he already got out. Don't know. I don't know what, that's the reason I was keeping an eye on him, because that vote's coming. If that vote passes the House, you could see another easy pop up in that. Do you think we'll see a bigger sell-off before the August summer dull? I think we could potentially see, with earnings season, once we get into tech, if it's a tech wreck with earnings, we could easily see it before the August. If for some reason it holds up and we don't really break substantially to new lows or get a short-term or a medium-term capitulation bottom, and this does hold up, above these lows that have already been set, these lows back in the middle of June. If it even if we sit and dance around this for a while through earnings season and don't really break down below this, then I wouldn't watch for the next major rollover play till sometime in September. We don't have to. The Dow is just ugh. Still expecting with the close, still above 62.5. Didn't quite get to 87.5, so still expecting the higher prices. That's why I'm not overly bearish yet. Don't need to. You guys can do the breakdown levels on that. Russell, I got that 87.5 and reversed. The Russell sort of took it on the shorts today a bit, but with that pretty steep reversal. But as I said, if you wanted the pair trade I listed yesterday was long the Nasdaq, short the Russell, with an out Russell outperformance potentially to the downside. So that'll be interesting. Not necessarily. It depends on if we get absolutely crushed. It could happen. Otherwise, if we just start grinding down slowly, I don't see the bottom until next year some point. If it's just a slower grind down. Now, if we just get some blistering selling and just really get valuations back down, and it happens this year, then it could happen. But until that, I would, if it's just an orderly unwind, I would plan on next year. Tesla, I talked this morning, the 750, 752 area, William. That was the key resistance, and this didn't invalidate it right there, but this is essentially you had your double top play here and the gap fill play. Remember, if you didn't spot that double, the gap fill play, you got the close right there below the 62.5. Remember, you do it from the closing price to that high, close below that 62.5. That's the gap fill play, and you got the gap fill play. Now, no idea what they're going to do with earnings. No idea. I think it will be, they've already essentially guided lower. I think it's going to still be a miss, but it's Tesla. Again, I can't get overly bearish unless I'm long-term incredibly bearish still. But until we get that close back below the 62.5, I can't getting more aggressively short, because the odds this is so far just a big sideways correction. And you've had tons of bearish news come out, and Tesla's held up very well, like ahead of their full self-driving leaving, big miss in deliveries, and it just holds up. So my key support level is 687. Key resistance is 754. Minor levels are 710, and that's all I really have because we're in consolidation. September is one of the biggest months for sell-offs. Yes, George. And if you want market sort of crashes or mini crashes, it favors October, but traditionally September is one of the biggest months for sell-offs. Will the dollar pull back more? Well, the dollar, I was watching this key level, got down quite to there. Then you got the sell-off and the rotation back in the dollar. Right now, we're not at cycle bottoms yet. Do we still have room to fall? We're at cycle tops on the weekly. The daily, not bottoms. What I'm watching for is the daily to bottom. One more turn up move, and then a major selling pressure in the dollar index. That's what I am watching for. Is there a strong bottoming pattern off of this? No. This is not a strong bottoming pattern. So I don't have a strong bottoming pattern just yet. So I'm going to watch essentially for another potential rollover and see what happens there. Or we really need to start trading back above about 107.80. VIX, again, with even the sell-off, not a lot of fear. We just rallied up close to that 26 area and then sold back down in the close. But there's very little fear in this market. Let's take a look at this spiders and Qs. Again, spiders, keep an eye for the gap fill at this point, but it did not get to the 87.5 yet. And if you want intraday, watch if it starts getting below 380.60, then really start playing for that gap fill. Other than that, the other targets are still in place. And the major area to get bearish on the spiders is on a closing basis below essentially 374. Or a intraday trade below 369.90. Qs finish the double pattern. You can't get more exact than that. The Qs actually finished the double pattern, and you got the nice double top. The Qs were really nice with the patterns because you can really see that double top right there against that full target. Where the futures slightly missed, the Qs hit it dead on, and then you got the double top pattern and the gap fill play, and then the continuation lower. Keep in mind, if we do start rolling down, we're back at that 50% harmonic, 288.29. If we start breaking down there, play for the next little gap fill play right in this area before a potential another bottoming move. But that's only on an intraday break below there. So that's where we sit with the Qs. I lost all my gains before the Apple news. Well, that's why you also have to trail a stop in tactile trading, and I don't know what you're trading, but I always like to trail stops, and once I see momentum bars, it's either get out or aggressively move up the stops, depending on whether you're trading the spiders, the Qs. Then if momentum bars, I use it as a get out pattern. If it's momentum bars against my position, if it's a stocks, I like to aggressively move up the stops because not every stock has to follow the market, and some things hold up better than others. Just like you can't count on everything tanking. I mean, Nvidia's still up on the day, even though it pulled back. Facebook or Meta's still up. You know, depending on what you're trading, that's why you trail stops. Where else? Do you think we'll Tuesday rally or going down here? I would be very shocked if we went down repeatedly until the FOMC. Again, this week's backloaded with the news events, and then next week is heavy into tech earnings. So next week's my critical week. This was the Apple. That's why I'm really watching to see tomorrow if it starts shrugging off the Apple guidance. If we start shrugging off the Apple guidance, I'll remain more so in bullish mode, especially with things still trying to get to a major topping area. Because there is no major sell pattern just yet. Bitcoin, again, Bitcoin with the tech sell-off, it was just the momentum bars. So, I can't, overall I'm bearish on Bitcoin, but until I start seeing the market really roll over, I'd be cautious on Bitcoin now with the daily cycles at the top and this reversal move. But you start breaking below about, where's a good level on this? Really, this is where I'd use the shorter term harmonics. You start getting below about 20,340, especially in the next couple days on a closing basis. and that would be a daily closing basis, then I would tip back to bearish and start really watching for the new lows. But if the NASDAQ bounces back to tomorrow, uh, if you get turnaround Tuesday, Bitcoin could rally straight back up. Would you please check it? MATIC. You want the Matic network versus the Tether? Oh, I hate doing against Tethers. Can I do against USD? There's a reason I don't do it against the Tethers. Will you please check it? Sure. I will check it. Well, I've checked it. Weekly cycles at the top, daily at the top. I'd be watching for the rollover play in this again once we get the more substantial weakness in the crypto market. You're sitting against some pretty major resistance area. If it does pop more, again, this is not something I follow or trade. Let's just see where it sits. The next area I'd be watching, if it does, continues about 115 and major. I don't see much more upside versus 129. Although you start breaking back down below 74, this thing's headed back to retest its lows, most likely. And what would be statistically the confirming basis would be if it trades below. That would be my early warning sign. If it closes back below 56, it's all bets are off. It's going back down. But you break below this key resistance becoming support, even with this rotation zone at a pegged top on the daily, pegged top on the weekly, you could see another really interesting pullback move there. You have a great evening too, Christoph. Thank you. Notes still trapped in this range. Nothing changed. 118.30, or we get momentum below 118.06. You see here we're testing both sides of that range, but that's the play. Nothing to do yet there. Just for the sake of completeness, Johnson & Johnson, pretty hefty reversal filling that gap, but going into earnings, this is just in a huge consolidation pattern. That's why I don't have post earnings. Depending on the gap, there might be a play. Pre-earnings, it would be a gamble play based off of this. Huge consolidation pattern, no great pattern here. And this is not a double top because you're not reversing enough of a move. So there's nothing to even go with that. Like to say Lockheed Martin. Lockheed Martin's a slight different story. It would be a gift on a gap. Why do I say that? Why is it a gift on a gap up? Because it's definitely reshortable for the bigger play from this double top that's triggered. You get triggered here, little bounce back rally, and then so far the rollover play. A gap on that would be interesting, the upside, because then not only could it play for the gap fill, but then roll it into a longer term short position. There's no data we have to worry about. Tomorrow again is minor. I'll just cover that for everybody, and then I'm going to call it a day. Tomorrow is minor. You just got housing starts and building, so unless you're trading something related to that. And then on Wednesday, you have, what day? That's the 20th. There we go. We got, again, more mortgage. This is sort of the week of potentially bad housing news. You got existing home sales. Crude is in play for Wednesday, but you have nothing else. Okay, the big thing Wednesday is going to be Tesla after the close because it's a mega cap with their earnings. Now, Thursday, you got jobless claims, you got Philadelphia Fed manufacturing index, which dropped negative. Now it's forecast zero. But the big thing is employment and prices paid. Then you have consumer board leading index, which is forecast to contract even more, which is bearish longer term for the market. And then on Friday, you have all the PMIs. So that's where it's back weighted. And I don't see any other Fed speak besides tomorrow. That's why the week sort of quiets down. All right. And if you look at the weekly earnings after Tesla, I mean, you got some minor things, but you don't have anything, you got things that can have individual effects or minor impact on the markets, but you don't have anything like Snap, even if they missed or beat, is not going to uh, crush or rally the market huge. All right. With that, thank you, Anissa. You have a wonderful evening. Rest well overseas. Hope you're doing fine in the heat wave also. All right, everyone. So watch for, I'm going to be watching for that continued potential, at least a little pullback overnight to see where if we can put in a stronger bounce pattern going into potentially turnaround Tuesday. So that's what I'm watching for. Other than that, still slight bullish to the upside based off the cycles. And we finally got out of overbought with the 4 hour. We have a little more to fall, so I'm going to watch for that to start bottoming and then a potential bottoming pattern. If not Tuesday, then Wednesday. With that, I will talk to everyone later. Have a wonderful evening. Bye for now.